Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our Tactics series. So, we have a very good one for you today, which is we'll be looking at Andoni Iraola's Bournemouth tactics. So, the man's been super impressive in Spain. I've been loved the stuff he did at Rayo Vallecano. He did incredible there, and the way he's translated them to Bournemouth didn't work the best at first in the league, but has translated to incredible success after the team looks great. They're doing really well. They're going to be safe. And everyone's probably like, hey, Gary O'Neill's doing so much better with Wolves. I think Bournemouth are set for major success come the future. I also think Wolves had a way better squad. But, no, I'm really been so impressed by this team. They look so good. I'm so excited for the future because there's a lot of really good players. And just honestly, he's such a great coach. And the team is fantastic. So we're going to take a look at that, look at everything along those lines, and it's going to be incredible. And here it is, guys. Here's the tactic. Here is what we have for you. This is it. It is a 4-2-3-1 with 2 DMs. I felt this worked better. I tested with both systems, and the DMs worked better. So we will go through it, talk all about it, talk tactics, talk videos. We got some videos, as always, for you guys. And then finish up explaining how the team did, a little bit of the shape that you're going to be seeing in games and some of the stats and stuff like that. And then we'll show you guys all the roles and instructions. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get into things now. Let's talk tactics. Okay, everyone. So, Iraola, a very interesting manager, to say the least. His style of play has lots of elements of modern-day teams, which are very specific about certain rotations, using movement off the ball and stuff to create space for people, and things like that. Lots of those modern-day ideas, as well as things like high pressing, aggressive overlapping of fullbacks, heavy emphasis on getting the ball wide and playing direct, but also looking to build from the back and things like that. And that's what kind of makes it interesting because you don't always see all those elements together. Sometimes you see mixes of them, but someone that relies so heavily on playing through the wide channels as well as being really direct is not, I feel like, is an interesting adaptation of some of the more modern day ideas. And this is what makes Iraola really interesting. So, with that being said, those kind of interesting ideas, the 5 things that I think we really need to focus on and talk about when going through this little bit here are mainly the style of play through using the flanks, his control of the midfield through using a box midfield, the overlapping of the wingbacks, the direct passing, and the high press. So those are the 5 things that I think I want to talk about mainly. We'll also talk a little bit about some of the long balls through the direct play as well. But yeah, that's kind of the main things. So, first off, let's start talking about the use of his flanks and overlapping wingbacks, because this is really key to his system. So, the biggest thing that occurs with this one is the very common rotation of his players. Now, the rotation you'll see most usually occurs like so. It kind of looks like this. This tends to be it. You'll see the most from his team. Now, this player can also make the run in here, but you'll see this kind of rotation. The 7 tucks in to become the right 10. The 10 moves over to become the left 10. The 11 stays wide. Then the right back pushes all the way up. The left back pushes up high here. And then depending on the positioning of this guy, if he's here or here, will then go overlap or will then underlap the space left by the winger there and make a run forwards. But if this guy goes, he will usually hang out around this area, and it'll be his job to kind of go. Unless the ball gets back over to the left, then he will go. And so that's kind of the main thing you'll see, just the rotation-wise in terms of that stuff. That's the first bit of it. The other bit is the aim to get the ball wide constantly. The idea is to first build with the ball superkeeper getting it to one of these center backs, right? Then they are given the ability to go wide or go centrally. Usually they will look to go wide, where this guy will have the ball kind of in this scenario here, and he'll then get it back inside. And when he gets it inside, the hope is he's getting it inside in the areas higher up the pitch. Because one thing that Iraola wants, he wants to dominate possession in the opposing half of the pitch. He doesn't want to do it as much as in his own half. He wants to do it in the opposing team's half. So because of this, the play can be very direct at times. So the team will go quickly forwards and have much higher tempo to get the ball forwards, but will slow it down a little bit once they get into the opposition's final third, because they don't want to risk giving the ball away back here. They want to get it out quick into the opposing half, into the opposing territory before anything else can happen. And this will lead to them also playing sideways passes, as well as some of the vertical ones that you will see. So when they get the ball out wide, they'll look to carry it before playing it down the line or back to the center back here. And usually once you get out to this area, you'll see a lot more of these passes, the ones that are laterally to these players here. And they'll move the ball sideways like this, maybe even over here or over here. Because the goal is, as they move it laterally, the players in the middle will move around and they'll slide and adjust and find positions. Because what'll happen is that you'll create kind of a box shape in the midfield here, which we can illustrate. Oh wait, hold on. Let's do it this way. So you see what I mean? But that box right there is created. So because of this, they're able to play around like this. And once one of these guys kind of shifts and gets open, boom, he's able to be found. Now there's already options going forwards because there's an extra player here. Now there's the angle to go here, go here. It helps create sort of these triangles as well. But there's lots of open players and people in the ability to create passing lanes. And that's kind of the big thing, is once they get into this area, he wants this box in midfield to allow them to use it as a way to create, say, a wall pass, getting into the 6. He can then get it back out wide, or get it into the other winger, inverted winger, who then can get it back out wide again to the player who can then find a cross and cut it back to the striker or a 10 or someone else. And that's kind of the big thing with it, is you want to get it into this area of the pitch here, and then create the box, get the control out wide through players like this, maybe even the 9 drop sometimes in to create the box, and you have these guys doubled up out wide as well. So that's the big thing. Once you get to the opposing half, how can you get it into the box shape, and how can you then use that to create opportunities of getting the ball back out wide, where one of these two guys here, oh my god, or these guys here are able to then get to the line and cut the ball back low for someone to score a goal. And that's kind of the big thing. And that it's very important for them to do it. Now, the other thing is that these two double pivots here, their goal is not really to get forward and be these like aggressive attackers. Their main goal is defensive cover, getting the ball, and then carrying it forwards before laying it off to one of these guys kind of in the front 6 area, I'd say. The front 6 guys are the most important. You want them to have the ball, them to be on the ball the most, and the ones that are going to be doing the most damage. Center backs will get the ball up, but that's only to recycle possession. So you want to get them that. So that's kind of the role of those two. They're always going to look to get it out wide too, as this is where you're usually going to have your overloads, because even this player will drift wide to create some overloads of some kind. And even on the goal that you see scored, that we show in real life, the 6 actually makes a great run like this across the line, pulling defenders out of the way, allowing for the wingback to drive inside and get into a great crossing position. So the thing is with them, they're never supposed to be the ones getting the ball, but they'll use their movement and other things like that to help create space for people to actually get on the ball and get into dangerous areas to create goals and other goal-scoring opportunities. And that's come most of the time from getting the ball wide and getting cutbacks into the box, because this team is big on crossing and big on creating opportunities to score through the wide areas. You'll see almost everything come through wide areas or via corners where they're given the ball, where they get the ball in, where they're quite good at set pieces too. But yeah, it's pretty important for them to get down the wide areas. They heavily emphasize it. The ball is almost always goes wide first. And even in building out of the back, the ball is always encouraged to go wide. And say they're getting pressed high, they'll go short to a center back, will then ping it out into the corner areas here where the wingback or the winger is. Sorry, just going through my notes. Yeah, so as I mentioned, again, breaking lines is super key with this team too. So that's why the ball hitting long balls are encouraged. You'll see in the possession clip where I show you guys some of the possession, everybody here tucks over on the side, and you see lots of players kind of tucking over here to help support in possession and allow them to play through the lines. But these guys stay high and wide, meaning there's an opportunity for them to be played into. And unfortunately, the pass here isn't able to be made, but you see them in tons and tons of space, and the long switch just isn't able to get there. But if it did, they'd be in so much space to be able to attack and score from something like that. And you'll see what I mean by that when they try to possess it a little bit, go laterally, and because they play the ball laterally, the defense shifts. So they shift it all the way across to the right, play one or two passes, and then all the defenders and all the attackers have come over, meaning there's tons and tons of rooms out here for this ball to be played into those wider guys. And you'll see that happen on either side, looking to create the space for them to then be able to exploit through a direct long pass. It's also to be seen by Bournemouth having only run 44% of the possession this season and attempting some of the highest average distance passes all season. Sorry about that. Clicked the wrong button when I went to go click on Word to open up my information again. But finally, the last thing we'll discuss, just because I'm obviously trying to keep this a little shorter now, is the pressing. So pressing is really, really important with this team. They look to press in a 4-4-2. So these two become the nines. The wingers kind of sit in this kind of like in-between space here, like this. They press in this 4-4-2 shape. Now, you will see them sit kind of like this more in the pressing. It'll be like a 4-2-3-1, but it changes on certain triggers. And one of the big things is that if the ball is played back to kind of like a 6 or something like that, this guy will heavily press them. And you'll see him kind of drop a little deeper, follow the guy, and then someone an opportunity, he will rush out and get to them really quickly. And I can show you a little bit of that if I build out a bit of a team here where we can talk about how heavily and aggressive they are. They do a lot of man marking too. They will aggressively man mark you on top of that as well. They will look to really not allow you any space, any opportunity to do anything in the middle. Okay, so say this guy has the ball here. The team will wait off kind of like this, covering nearly everyone they possibly can, waiting for him to make a pass. Because so you're not going to be as totally, he'll kind of be encouraging the ball wide. He's going to cut off this middle area here. They're all going to kind of be waiting for the middle ball, but they'll invite this ball out wide, right? So they'll invite him to play it wide before coming over and trying to force him back into this middle area. Because what they want to do is Bournemouth, is they don't want you to get the ball forwards. They want you to stay around your box, as that's the key thing with the press. They want to win it by the box. So they have the shortest distance to goal, and a lot of the opposing team is behind them now, who are behind the ball and not able to contribute defensively. So they will encourage that ball wide. Once the ball's wide, they'll then try to force you back into the middle, where the 10 and the 9 are waiting for you. They'll stand off a bit and they'll say, hey, you can go across to the center back here, where they'll wait and be looking for you to play this lateral pass, because then the striker will run in and steal it and score. And this happens in the game and in real life, which I'll show you clips of. So that's another key thing. They also, if the ball's played here and then say the guy gets in front, is able to get here, played in here, they'll then be really aggressive to cut off your lanes anywhere and make sure you have to go backwards now. Because once you go backwards, they can put more pressure on, goes backwards again, put even more pressure on, and then lead them to doing that same scenario. Or if they then back off a little bit, the ball gets played here, they invite it out wide, they show it back inside, then picked off by someone, played across, boom, boom, goal. And that's the thing you have to be really wary of. They really aggressive, push really high up the pitch, and try to make sure that you can't do anything about that, because they're always waiting for the opportunity to press you there and win it back. Now, the other thing to know about this is they compress their lines heavily. So they will have the center backs really close up, like past the midfield line. The DMs will be nearby as well. The strikers will be really high up too. And because of this, because compression of the lines and compression of the space available, it means that everyone can be man marked, and there's such tight areas for possession. It's really hard to possess and control through those without looking to go backwards or hit switches, which they're looking for you to do into those wide areas, because they don't care. Bournemouth are happy for you to have the ball in this wide area here or this wide area here, because you're not in the biggest, most dangerous zone, which is the one right at the top of the box. So as long as they can keep you to the zones out here and here, They do not care. They're happy to force you wide into those zones and encourage you to try to cross or do things like that because they are happy to deal with it with Senesi and Zabanyi and Billing all back there, being monsters of human beings that can just clear the ball at will. So, a little bit of the tactics, a little bit of things that are important to this team. Hope you guys did enjoy that bit. When I look at the clips, which I'm really happy about, really excited about, I think they nail the team so perfectly. It's just kind of insane how well this fits the team. It's really one of the best tactics I think I've made in a long time. So I really hope you guys do enjoy. We'll move on to the videos now. We'll chat through some of that and see how it goes. And I will, I'll show you guys how the tactic works. So here's an example of a goal that is scored by Bournemouth. So you can see here the center back has it and plays that, again, that direct ball forwards to get through lines of pressure. We now see the run made by out wide of the player. Obviously, this time Sinistera has been the one that tucks inside as that wide player and allowed for the overlap of the center back and Kelly. Kelly now is able to overlap and drive towards the line and is able to find one of the players, be it the 10, be it the opposite-sided winger, or be it the 9, making that driving run into the box, being able to be hit. The goal that we'll see in real life is targeting the 10, but this one targets the 9, who then taps in an easy finish inside the box. It's a very similar idea of using combination play of the winger tucking inside, playing someone out wide to then create the goal. Playing someone out wide who then crosses it and you score a goal. And it's really similar, very same idea, it's just slightly a little more complex, the real life one. So here is an example of how the team scores a goal using the wide areas and combination play through the wide areas to get a winger or a fullback, a wingback in position to play a cutback for the striker or the 10. We had the striker score from the wingback, but this one is a little different. So you can see the team building wide. You have the player here in the middle making the run to help create space, and you have that wide player getting it. Now the wide player gets it. He's going to play the ball here to the wingback gets it. He's going to play the ball wide to the winger and make a run in behind. Now, the movement here of the center mid is really key as well, as it helps create space. So he runs, he gets it back. That guy keeps running and help create space. Then we get it back to the wingback here, who's now able to find David Brooks, who's making the run to the box of the 10. And boom, there's your finish. It's a goal, lovely movement from everyone involved, and Bournemouth strike back. So in our second clip, we'll be taking a look at the passing structure and kind of the midfield box that we want to see. So we can see here from Neto playing it out. We'll make sure just it is on medium pace. Good. Goes wide here to get over that thing. And again, one of the things we talked about, we'll just quickly look at here, but that first line of pressure wanting to evade it. So obviously they're set up high and there's space out wide. If we go short into these guys, it's a direct long ball already now past this first line of pressure, which is really important. Kirkes can carry the ball forwards, and he can find the ball continuously out wide. And now look, they've already passed more lines of pressure. Again, that thing we consistently want to see from this team is the direct play in nature. Now the ball goes inside and is passed around again. And as it's moved around, you can start seeing that box midfield kind of form to create those lines. You can see it here. Box here, box here. Obviously, Solanke is a part of this, but you can see the boxes that are created, which create these passing lines, and the ability to play horizontal for playing vertical, which is there. Horizontally allows for a vertical pass now. And you can see the team creating the box again. You could see kind of the box shape there. There's a run made. Unfortunately, the ball's under hit. But you see what I'm talking about. And the team is able to play sideways, to play vertically, as well as has that shape in the middle, where they're able to be direct, but also have the option to go sideways to then allow the adjustment of where they're going to play direct. And even though the pass didn't come off, it was a great opportunity because they'd played sideways, moved people, allowed for runs to be made, and thus then have the ability to play direct again. So here is a bit of just a quick example of some of the box midfield shape that you see in possession from the Bournemouth side. So here against the game in Nottingham Forest, the team's playing the ball around the back to try to create the opportunity to play vertically, but they can't, so they're playing it sideways. And you can see them continuing to play sideways, and as they do, you can see the shape that is thus created. You see the winger inverting here, creating the other 10. You see the other 10 here, and the two DMs creating this box midfield shape here. They're creating the abilities to play forward. So you can see here, if he steps in a little further, there's a great chance to play vertically here into the space here. Or now, because they've also all moved over, there's space on the opposite flank. And you can see this here, as I illustrated here with this little stoppage as well. And boom. Like so. There's lots of now room created on this opposite flank of ball to be played into, because everyone's now pulled over here to this side in terms of the players sucking in, but there's two guys now in tons and tons of space for Zabanyi to try to hit. Unfortunately, it's poor pass and it's loss of possession. But you can see the shape, that box midfield that's created, where they're looking to have verticality. They can't, so they play it laterally and then look to get that vertical pass going by playing a long ball or just being aggressive and going more direct. So here's an example of the way the team presses. We already talked about in the beginning how important is the team when it comes to pressing is the way they look to push the ball wide and their triggers, which being really key. We also, again, just to refresh, talked about how two of the biggest triggers are when the ball goes sideways, being a really key one trigger, as well as backwards. But those are two really key triggers for the team, especially when the ball is played sideways to a center back, which is really key. And you'll see what I mean in this clip here, where you can see a lot of it. So we're again pressing here. You can see the shape of the player in the middle here trying to win the ball. We're able to win it by a quick counter press. Sinistera look to play that direct pass. We lose the ball. Okay, now it's time to press again. And you can see here, remember, this is our 10 who will act as that second striker, and we can press in a 4-4-2. So you can see the ball here. We're not doing press. The ball's gone wide. Immediately, Kluivert's there to press. Now, Cucurella's done it, and you can see Kluivert continuing to go, trying to force that ball back wide. He's going to tuck. He's trying to cut off that pass and force the ball to be played into this wide area or across here, which again is another trigger for us, as Solanke's in a great spot to deal with this. But again, look, everyone is covered right now. There's all these people covering all these players. There's no options. So it encourages it. It's a bad pass into the middle. That sideways pass is a trigger. Remember that. The forced sideways pass, Solanke knows to go. Boom, wins it, and goal. And you'll see the exact identical version of this from one of Bournemouth's most recent games where they score a very, very similar goal. And you'll see how similar our pressing structure works to the one in real life. Okay, so here's an example of the pressing I wanted to show you guys. So, as it runs through, you'll see what I'm talking about. So, obviously here you can see the compression of the lines by Bournemouth. You can see them really not allowing much space. Maybe there's one player there, but the pass into that space would be really, really difficult, as there's so much ground that is covered by them. But as you can also see, there's space in these wide areas here, but not in the middle. They're able to cover it up pretty easily in the middle by pressing or just having players able to cover those zones. Oops. Sorry about that, guys. Let's let it keep playing. We see them passing around. Steve forcing that sideways pass inside. You now see the 10 pushing forwards from his position here to press and create that 4-4-2 pressing structure. Very similar to what we see in ours. He's going to press the ball, force it inside, and now you have another runner coming to press again, forcing the ball backwards again. Now the ball, again, you see how the team sets up here? We're forcing it wide. We're encouraging the ball to move wide into these wide areas where there's no problem. Now, the ball's forced down the line. Pressure here, but guess what? Now, you have the team in that 4-4-2 structure again, but look, everyone's covered. The ball's being forced backwards now. They can't go inside, they can't go out wide. Everyone's covered. So now, the ball's supposed to go backwards, forcing it into that area where we want to win the ball, right at the edge of the box. Look again. Force that pass in the middle where there's pressure. Force in the middle, ball's won, and goal. Beautiful, beautiful pressing from the team. So similar to how we did it, where we forced that sideways pass in the middle, striker's waiting, pounces, scores, and goal for both of us, and in-game and in real life. Okay, everyone, we're chatting about how Bournemouth did do. So, as we can see here, finished in 10th place. Not the most incredible finish, but not the worst finish. We had 55 goals, 52 assists on the season. 52 allowed, 55 scored on the season. Dominic Solanke, top scorer. Sinistera, 6.99. Lewis, Cook, Traore, and Sinistera all had 7 assists. Senesi, the best pass completion percentage. Sinistera, best player of the matches. Smith, Kirkes, tons of yellows, and Cook, the most red cards. So, pretty good, as you can see also. Kind of hung around kind of lower mid-table, and then boosted up with a lovely end of the season. But yeah, that's pretty much in terms of kind of the base stats. We will talk a little bit more about things, but I think obviously some of the big stuff to talk about first is probably things like, say, the box midfield and stuff like that, which are pretty important to seeing. So it's not as clear here with these three, but it's stuff that if we go into the... No, it's always analytical. I always screw it up by clicking player statistics. It's analytical data. We go teams, we go Bournemouth, we go average positions, and we go with ball. We'll go 45 minutes to make it easier. Not as fancy, but you can see the tucking in of Kluivert, so you can see this, the bit more the box shape there. You can see this guy is probably going to be coming out over there without the ball. It's not as good of a 4-4-2. These guys need to be a little deeper, but again, that is FM for you. It doesn't always work the right way, but still, you can see some of the elements of what we were trying to do. And also, even though you did see in the pressing, that 10 does drop in a bit before going up and pressing and creating that shape. So it does change things a little bit. So if we just go to the 45 minutes again, just so you can it's a little better. This one, shape of the ball is very much that shape. And again, same thing here. But you do see he is tucked in more and he should be higher up. So it's closer, and it's not as perfect, but it's definitely closer, and it's neat to see. Not totally perfect, but again, it's just hard to have that adjustment at times because the game just doesn't always register it that way. But yeah, just kind of the few things there. If we do just talk about some of the few stats, so like some of the big things for Bournemouth is they're very good when it comes to into like pressing and things like that. So we have some good pressing numbers. We go to team detailed. We go all the way down. It's pretty much around here. Nope. Opposition pass per defensive action. Annoyingly, it's really high, which I wasn't able to adjust, but we do press a lot. I forget where I was looking at it. We win possession the most of anyone, so our pressing is really good. So like you can see we press really well. It's just we're not pressing as high, annoyingly. I've tried to make it press as high, but it won't, which is kind of aggravating. But if you do look at final third passes allowed against, we are in the top 7 for defending in allowing. We're literally we're in the top 6 for allowing passes in our own defensive area, which is really key, because one of the key tactics that we talked about was Iraola really wants to force the ball wide defensively, so you can't pass into the final third. So it's really big that we've only allowed so few passes into the final third, but you can see matches up there. They're kind of middle of the road with interceptions as well, but it's just some really important stuff. And if we look at tackles one, we're quite high, which defensive duels, they're second in defensive duels, so that's really key as well. We can't look at challenge intensity and things like that, but we are really high in that. And then also they're 11th in possession. If we do look at stuff like possession, we are dead 11th with very similar numbers. If I go and look at the possession numbers, what is it? Bournemouth's possession numbers are 44.4%. We're 47%. If we look at things right now in terms of, say, shooting, right? So shots, Bournemouth have, hold on, where is it? Shots per 90, 12.5, right? So if we go down to shots, there's so many stats, it's always shots 4. So, that chance is graded. Shots 4. 463, so if we do our math, 463 divided by 38, we get 12.18. Real life, it's 12.5. Perfectly on the money. Shots on target per 90, we're at 4.2. We look at shots on target. Ours, we go 203 divided by 38. 5.34. So we're just slightly better. The AI are slightly better at shooting in terms of that stuff. If you look at these things, it's pretty much on the money. Shot on target percentage as well. We're at 43%. In real life, Bournemouth are 43.6%. So, I mean, it's just fantastic. So, I mean, it's really almost identical. A lot of the stuff, which is great to see. So we're really hitting a lot of those numbers in terms of that stuff. Even in the shots per game, as we were saying, we're 12.18, which is so close to 12.5. It's just great to see because we're really good in terms of that stuff. We're also high intensity sprints for the movement and thing like that. And final third passes where we don't have as much, but we are quite clinical when we do, because if you look at the conversion rate, sorry, they're not very clinical, which if we look, I don't think they have conversion right. But Bournemouth's real life conversion rate is, let's see, we can figure this out. Bournemouth's real life conversion rate is 9.4, so we're slightly better than their 9.4%. So you have slightly better finishing, but it's still very similar in terms of a lot of stuff, which is the key. We want to stay similar, stay close. We're able to do all of that. Also, if you do look, top goal scorer Solanke, which is the same thing. A lot of the key other guys, goal scorers in the team. If we look at that, so the goal scorers, you have Solanke, Semenyo, Tavernier, which Billing, Kluivert, Sinister, a lot of the wingers and the strikers, same thing here. A lot of these guys, the wingers and the midfielders, all getting in the goals. We look at the assist guys, Tavernier, Senesi has a few from long balls, but Billing, Christie, and Smith. We look at this in terms of the assists, Sinister, Traore, Cooks, Brooks, Kluivert, Semenyo, Smith, people like that, Kirkej, the wingbacks, right underneath, all getting in those areas to get the assists and get those goals. So it's really hitting on a lot of this stuff, and it really does mirror so well, which is great to see. So I'm really happy with that, really happy with how well it mirrors all this stuff and really hits the head on the, hits the head, whatever, it just nails it, and I'm really happy to see all of it. So with that being said, let's talk about the tactic itself. So it is a custom style 4-2-3-1 with 2 DMs on a positive mentality. The goalkeeper is a sweeper keeper, on defend, nothing at all. Now, you could go goalkeeper if you want as well. Neto is a sweeper keeper on support, but I feel like when I watched, they didn't have the goalkeeper do too much distribution. It was a little more of the direct play from some other people, so I wouldn't worry as much. The wingback on the right is a wingback on attack with stay wider and tackle harder. This is because he needs to stay wide, get over and overlap, and get into the spaces behind. The ball-playing defender in the middle has tackle harder, and the left also has tackle harder. Now, these guys, if you want, so this is where this thing comes into play, where earlier I mentioned the fact that when they are not high-pressed, they look to play and carry the ball out before being direct. And they like to be a little more direct and stuff. This is encouraging for you to maintain possession. So this is kind of like the better version of the tactic. If you are coming against a bigger team, what you want to do is that you want to make sure that these guys here are turned to center backs. This guy becomes a goalkeeper. Well, you can keep a sweeper keeper because they do have a higher average, their distance. So this is the other thing too. You probably want to keep a sweeper keeper because even the average goalkeeping distance, so the average distance of defensive action for a Bournemouth goalkeeper is 13.1 yards from his goal. So it's a lot, like, it's not the highest in the league, but it's still decently high. It's a lot higher than others, like Sheffield United is at 5 yards. So I would encourage you to probably keep a sweeper keeper, but you could go goalkeeper if you wanted. But make these 2 center backs, have tackle harder, and more direct passing on them, because Bournemouth will hit long balls from their center back. So you want to make sure you do encourage that. So that's one change you want to make if you are going to be playing against a bigger side. But otherwise, you can keep them as ball-playing defenders on tackle harder. The left back, wing back on attack with stay wider, tackle harder. You don't have to have stay wider if you don't want to, because he does make those runs inside. But we do want him to stay wider, mainly for the fact of in build-up, it is really important that he stays wide on those wings and stuff like that. So if that's the case, I would suggest doing in underlap or overlap for it, but because he does both, we have neither selected. Now, the 2 DMs. On the left, you have your ball-winning midfielder on support. This, I know you're going to be like, why on earth is it on the left? This is where players bundle up more. Yes, they bundle up more, but but this player likes to get forward a lot, and in real life, they're encouraged to get forward constantly, overlapping there, and I'll show you. And so because of that, he needs to cover this space and be aggressive in here, because the winger is not going to drive to the line. They're going to kind of stay around here, this area, and be more of like a help. Well, this guy's going to be getting into these areas here, where he's going to be leaving a space. So the ball-winning midfielder is encouraged to kind of push into these areas and win that ball. Also, because the advanced playmaker is going to be here, so you want to make sure that you're able to get it to, if they lose the ball, they're not going to be caught. But that's why he got those instructions. The right DM has stay wider and tackle harder. Now, you could have dribble more on this guy as well, as that one of the more common carriers is this guy, but I don't feel Bournemouth carry the ball enough to allow someone to have dribble more. I think it's more of just it happens ever so often, but I don't think you need to do dribble more, as they're not dribbling, they're more just carrying the ball forwards, and it doesn't occur too often. So I think you're fine leaving him as a DM without that. The left DM is a ball fielder on support with dribble more. This player does tend to dribble more than the right DM, so you definitely want it on that, and they are aggressive in the tackle, being more someone that wins the ball, brings it forwards, and then plays it off. Not really doing too much else besides that. The right attacking mid is an inverted winger on support with sit narrower and close down more. Now, this is for the crossing. This is not crossing. This is for the pressing, which is highly important to the team. As we talked about before, you want him sitting in to be that right 10, where this player then has the freedom to overlap and get forwards. Again, why we have the overlap on the right selected. But it's really important he tucks in, and he will sit in kind of this right 10 space, where this guy will shift over to the left. Now, to make sure that this 10 shifts over to the left, he's an advanced playmaker on support. It's your central 10. He's got move into channels. This is going to encourage him to make sure that he moves into these channels here and there, so that he's in the right spot for when this guy inverts. You want him, usually he's going to be here, but you can't tell him to always sit in the left channel, so we have moved in channels to ensure he does that. We also have closed them more, tackle harder, mark tighter, so that he does press in the 4-4-2 that we're looking for. And guys, as you saw, the clip from real life to the way we pressed in game is not identical, and I'm so happy about that. It is perfect because that way that worked, and it's amazing, and I'm so happy how well it worked, and that's because of some of these things here in terms of these close them more, tackle harder, mark tighter. Finally, the winger at left attacking mid on support, close them more and tackle harder. Those, again, have to do with the pressing bits. They're quite important and crucial as well. Finally, a pressing forward on attack with no additional instructions. He is perfect for how he is. The pressing forward is just the best version of what you want. You could go and do the pressing forward on support, I believe it is, because that allows you to hold up the ball. This one you could do as well, because Solanke does at times drop in and help create attacks behind him, which you did see on the goal that I showed you from real life. So there is the opportunity to go pressing forward on support as well with Solanke. You can do that too, but I feel attack is better, just because he's doing the movement of getting into the channels a little more, which is more important of how his movement is to real life, where he likes to move into those channels to create runs, to pull people and make space for others. So that's what I feel is kind of a little more important there, but it's something you can do if need be. Probably against bigger teams, you can do that. Finally, again, we have a positive mentality. In possession, we are very, very wide, as he uses the channels that we talked about. I wouldn't say pass into space. I don't think you need that. You could add it against a stronger team and take off play out of defense, but I think pass into space encouraged too many hopeful balls, where they still did try to play through the lines. So that's what you wanted to see. We focus play down the left and the right, as they look to focus play constantly down those sides, play out of defense, as they do look to play out of defense, and overlap on the right, since the inverted winger tucks in the right always goes. We have slightly more direct passing on, and higher tempo. When I lowered it, the team possessed the ball way too much, and it wasn't good enough. So I wanted to have slightly more direct to ensure that we didn't possess the ball too much, but we're still direct and aggressive when we had the ball, looking to break lines constantly. And there was no additional instruction besides that, as everything else would limit us to something which we don't want to be limited to. In transition, we are just counter-pressing. The team doesn't always counter, doesn't always hold shape. They don't always go quick, they don't always go slow, and there's no specific person to distribute to, unless you were trying to really encourage the main build-out of distribute to center backs. But the team will also go long from the goalkeeper as well, because they have a big striker in Solanke. So it's nothing that needs to be fully selected. It can be left blank. Finally, out of possession, this is where a lot of stuff happens. This is where we really try to make sure that 4-4-2 is the highly aggressive, highly pressing 4-4-2 shape. So with that, we have much higher line of press and a much higher defensive line. So this is the maxed out for both, because we want to make sure we win the ball as close to the box as possible. Remember, I mentioned earlier that it's so key that the ball is won as high as possible, right up on the edge of the box. That's really important to the way the team plays, because it shortens the distance to the goal and makes sure that all the other players of the other team are behind you. Thus, you have less players in front of you to beat. So we prevent short goalkeeper distribution, because it encourages them, if they do play short, they'll be super tricky, or they play it long, and we win it in the air and then attack from there. Much more often, as we are really, really aggressive in the press, going constantly, step up more, because, as I talked about earlier as well, Iraola is really big on compressing the space in between the lines. And you will also see center backs step high onto opposition players in their opposition half at times as well, which is another reason we have step up more. The other is trap outside. As you also saw from our clips, Bournemouth do not let the ball in the middle. They heavily push everyone towards one side so that you cannot play through the middle of them. You have to switch it long to find space, meaning they want to force you wide constantly at all times. Again, why we have trap outside on. So that is your tactic. That is the reasonings and instructions behind all of it. I know I can kind of be a little long-winded with explaining my tactics and how they work, but I think it's important you guys understand why every single instruction is put on there and why everything is done. You see it beforehand, but I like to reiterate because it's so important to know why I've put all this on here. And it's not just fluff and me going, hey, here's what works meta. This is all really important to everything. And each little detail is kind of nitpicked by me to make sure it fits and works in these ways. Again, it's a bit of unfortunate we finished 10th. I did have one, which I did test on my own. And I did do some other stuff like that. I got quarterfinals of Man City and 5th round of Everton, but it doesn't really matter as much. You guys came here for the tactic. You didn't care too much about the results. Because in the end, we don't care much about the results with this. We care about the stats. We don't care where these guys are, really. We care about the stats. We care about how the team matched up to what they do in real life, because that's what's important in this recreation. It's not how the team did statistically. I mean, not how the team did competition-wise. It's how they did statistically. It does suck, though, because in some other tests, with some different instructions, they did finish up high as 4th at times, but this is much more the real team, so it's 10th in the end. But hey, not going to complain. Still got decently far in the cup, and we got a lot of stuff, and it really matches well, and I'm happy with it. It worked so well. I'm really happy with the tactic. It all worked great, and when some of the clips you saw, how well it worked, it's just fantastic. It matched up so well, so perfectly to real life that this to me is one of the best tactics I've made this year, and I'm really, really proud of this one. So I hope you guys enjoy it a lot, because I think it will be fantastic to recreate the famous Spanish right back and Bilbao legend. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching another tactic video. I know things are starting to get back into the swing of stuff. Obviously, we had a little bit of a break with I had some personal stuff going on, especially with asbestos in my house. That was not fun. But we're getting back to all the tactics coming out consistently. I know I've talked about the roster for upcoming ones. I posted some tweets and some posts on YouTube. I'm going to try to do that for you guys now, so you know what tactics are coming each week. I think it'll be more enjoyable. You guys can look forward to them. You know what dates they're coming out, all that stuff like that. I think it'll work better. We have more transparency between the two of us, which is always really important as a content creator, and stuff that you guys want to see, because then it lets us communicate and do all those things. I'll continue to try to answer all the messages and things like that. But just something fun to look at and do. I hope you guys are enjoying seeing all those. But I hope you guys did really enjoy this one. Remember to like and subscribe if you did, and hit the notification bell, because we have QPR, Luton, and Stuttgart all coming up. We have QPR coming out on, what is that now? Today's Tuesday. So we have that coming out on Sunday. We have Luton coming out on that Tuesday, so a week from today. And then finally, we have Stuttgart coming out on that coming Sunday. So you guys have the next 3 set. You know everything that's happening. I'll reveal the next ones after that. We do have a special 1K subscriber tactic special, which I'll get for you guys going. But once I hit 1K, then I'll make it. It's gonna be like made once I hit the goal. I don't want to make it ahead of time, and it's one of those things that I will make ahead of time. I don't think I'll make ahead of time, because I don't know when we'll get there, and I want to put all the effort into these tactics now, and then when that happens, we'll do that special one. It'll be the next available time slot. So with it all being said, thank you so much for watching again, everyone. If you guys did enjoy, remember to like and subscribe, and be sure to tune in next time for our QPR tactic coming next weekend.